What's up, guys? Well, we're in Georgia today, Carroll County to be exact, with the mayor, ex-trooper, AJ Scott, that has had a traffic crash in 2015, and they are still trying to move it along through the courts. We're not going to go over the whole. We're going to hit the highlights and then get to, I guess, I don't know, yesterday. Also, I would like to note 80% of people that watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. Click the button and we'll move along. And something that I want to address for people that want to say that you talk too much during the videos. Okay, hey, if you don't like the way I'm running shit over here, you can feel free to go somewhere else, for one. For two, look up YouTube's fair use and copyright. Because when I'm done with this video and I'm uploading it to YouTube, I'm now going to have to go through, and it has been like this for a while, it asks you, I don't know, 15 more minutes worth of questions. Does your video show this? Does it show dead bodies? Does it show takedowns by police that show injury? You have to answer all these questions, and based on how you answer it depends on now if YouTube will even let you put it up anymore. Also, you have to talk over it enough to change it from its original, or they'll give you a copyright strike. So that's how that works. If you don't like that, you can go somewhere else. So AJ Scott was involved in a traffic crash in 2015, and these are the two teens, 16 and 17-year-old, that he killed. Two males that were in the front seat were injured, and they have tried to lay blame everywhere but the trooper. I believe the first one ended in a mistrial, and then in 2019 he was elected mayor and has been elected mayor ever since. And he's been having some boozing issues, going out to clubs and stuff and getting so intoxicated that he then calls his buddies to come pick him up and give him a ride home. Shit like that. So, anyway, AJ Scott, Georgia, 2015 to current day.
Does a former state trooper deserve prison time for crashing into a car full of teenagers, killing these two young ladies? He did not have lights or sirens on. The jury is deliberating that question right now. Doug Richards is live at the Carroll County Courthouse. And Doug, the judge came back from the weekend where he took time to consider whether he'd have a mistrial here. He said no, they were going to move forward.
Right, that's right, Cheryl. And the thing is, this goes kind of to one of the basic tenets of criminal trials. You should have evidence over here, which is supposed to be unaltered and pristine. And then over here, you have arguments that the attorneys make, which is supposed to sort of shape the evidence and persuade jurors. So on Friday, when prosecutors were giving their closing arguments...
So this is from 2019.
They were trying to persuade jurors. They showed a piece of evidence, the dash cam video of the crash in which Trooper AJ Scott's cruiser crashed into the slow-moving carload of teenagers. And then prosecutors enhanced the...
You notice that video, that part of the dash cam that the news had showed everything but that.
...video during closing arguments using graphics to describe what was going on. That caught the judge and Scott's defense attorney by surprise. The defense asked for a mistrial Friday. Today, Judge John Simpson seemed inclined to grant it. Here's the DA defending the video in court this morning.
The state did not alter any evidence. The state did not alter any video.
Are you aware that there is a huge national discussion about this very type of evidence? Are you aware that those are the huge discussions?
Judge, I'm not aware of a national discussion about...
You are required to be aware of that.
We have done things like this in trials in this circuit since I've become DA and prior to becoming DA.
The fact that you have done improper arguments repeatedly does not make it the law.
Get him, Judge.
Thank you.
And then the judge exited, as you can see. Prosecutors say Scott was going more than 90 miles an hour, didn't have his siren and no lights on during the accident. The crash killed 17-year-old Kylie Lindsay and 16-year-old Isabella Chinchilla and permanently injured another passenger. So when the judge came back after pondering his decision for the better part of an hour, he decided to deny the mistrial motion and to order the jury to view the videotape not as evidence, but rather as a prop merely intended by the prosecution to persuade the jurors in the case. And then the jurors went back at lunchtime. They have been pondering this case ever since, Jeff and Cheryl.
Interesting. All right, they've had the case more than 5 hours. Thank you, Doug. To dig deeper into the case and hear former Trooper Anthony Scott's testimony.
Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. But the prosecutor asked Scott if he saw the speed limit signs posted on Highway 27 signaling drivers should slow from 55 to 45 miles an hour when approaching a hill. He said, nope, didn't see none of them signs. He wasn't running emergency traffic. What difference does it make if you're running emergency traffic? Yes, and you're not running emergency traffic and you're driving 90 miles an hour in, at that point, would have been a 45 mile an hour zone.
Jurors deadlocked tonight as a former state trooper standing trial accused of slamming into a car while going 90 miles an hour without any sirens or without any kind of notification that he is on assignment, thus killing 2 teens.
The judge is...
His body-worn camera or radio or whatever had died, and another trooper had taken it to charge it, and he was on his way back to get the radio that the trooper charged. And he was driving 90 miles an hour to do that. Why? Because they do it all the time.
Making those jurors stay and talk more. Let's send it over to 11 Alive's Doug Richards. Doug?
Well, Cheryl and Jeff, the jurors had been deliberating all afternoon yesterday and most of the morning today when they sent the first of 2 notes out to the judge indicating less than optimistic forecast about their ability to reach a full battery of verdicts in the...
Again, we're still 6 years ago, and this crash happened in 2015.
This case.
It reads as follows. We have decided on 2 counts and are undecided on 4 of the counts. No possibility of unanimous decision.
The verdict will decide the fate of former state trooper A.J. Scott. In October 2015, he was traveling 90 miles per hour with no lights or siren when his cruiser crashed into a car full of teenagers. The crash killed...
Again, they didn't show that yet.
2 girls, 17-year-old Kylie Lindsay and 16-year-old Isabella Chinchilla, and injured 2 others. Jurors are deliberating a 6-count indictment.
Is there a hope that you can make progress if you go forward?
At this point in time, I seriously doubt it.
At mid-afternoon, the jurors laid out some details of their progress. Deadlocked 8-4 on both counts of vehicular homicide. Deadlocked 10-2 on both counts of serious bodily injury by vehicle. Unanimous agreement on the least serious counts, speeding and reckless driving. The jury did not tell the judge which way they were leaning on the undecided counts, and the judge asked again.
Is there hope for progress on the other counts?
Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
So the jurors in this case told the judge this morning that they were deadlocked 7-5 on the vehicular homicide charges. This afternoon, they told the judge they were deadlocked 8-4. The judge saw some progress there and so sent them back to the jury room, and they've been there ever since, and they're still there. Back to you.
Let's go forward. We're still 6 years ago.
It's a big weekend for the judge in the trial of Anthony Scott, a former Georgia State trooper who slammed into a car with 4 teenagers inside, killing 2 of them. Prosecutors say Scott was going 90 miles an hour, no lights, no sirens. But during closing arguments, a video was shown, and now the defense...
Notice he's going up a hill. Should not be driving 90 miles an hour.
...is taking issue with this. Here's 11 Alive's Elwin
Right
Lopez.
There, they never saw him. And as he turns... As the victims turn, his car looks like it is tracking them. Seems like and he's going fast and it's going to happen quick, but if they're going this way, I don't know, he might go that way.
It's a crucial weekend for both the prosecution and the defense.
I do feel that the court should have been notified and the defense should have been notified of the changed video.
Prosecution showed dash cam video the jury had already seen, but added graphics to show how fast the trooper was going. The defense then asked for a mistrial.
Yeah, they didn't like that. They didn't like evidence against him showing he was going 90 miles an hour in a 45-mile-an-hour zone.
It could unfairly sway the jury.
Unfairly sway the jury. The jury's going to get to see all the evidence and make a decision from there, and they don't like that.
I am going to recess the trial until Monday. I'm going to study it over the weekend.
Just moments before that, the defendant, ex-trooper Anthony Scott, took the stand.
I thought they were probably going to stop in that left lane, so I went
now listen to his voice and notice no tears.
To the right, but they never did stop and kept coming, and I tried to go back to the left.
You were going so fast, they had a left turn. You're coming up a hill. How do you know they didn't stop? Also, cars are equipped with a little black box inside of them. And because they're going to try to say that one of the females was sitting on the center console in the middle, which would make no sense, in the front seat. Black box will tell you how many people were in the car, where they were sitting, if they had their seatbelt on, what the speed was at the time of the crash, what the speed was before the crash. It will tell you everything that went on with that car and inside that car.
Okay.
Also, if you're involved in a traffic crash, do not let law enforcement get the black box. You have your car towed to where you want it towed to. You don't release it to anybody. You hire an attorney and you let your attorney go from there. Because trust and believe, they will download that information and then they will spin it any way they can. Because let's say the speed limit is 45 and, I don't know, 2 miles before the crash, you're doing 52. The black box will show how fast you were going, and they will say, well, you're going 7 miles over the speed limit. You contributed to the crash because if you weren't going 7 miles over the speed limit, you wouldn't have got to where you were at so soon, then the accident might not have happened. It's total bullshit. Don't let them have the black box in your car.
The former Georgia State Trooper says he was on his way to get his radio from another officer when he struck a car with 4 teenagers inside. 2 of them died, Kylie Lindsay and Isabella Chinchilla.
I noticed the car was filling up with smoke, so I thought it might be on fire. At that time, another officer was there. I told him to help me start getting them out of the car. So I got the driver out of the car and took him to the side of the road. His
voice is only quivering like that because he knows if he's found guilty, he's looking at about 30 years in prison.
The defense argued in court the teenage driver Dylan Wall should not have turned left in front of Scott.
Should not have turned left in front of Scott. There was a hill. He was driving 90 miles an hour. They likely didn't even know he was there. They looked, it was clear, they turned. No, it is on him, not them.
Wall and passenger Ben Finken were seriously injured in the crash.
Jurors want a new judge and a new prosecutor in hopes of finally putting a 4-year-old tragedy behind them.
Yeah, 4 years. That's how long it's been since a speeding state trooper who was not answering a call crashed into a car full of teenagers that turned into his path.
Also, this is 5 years ago.
Fox 5 team reporter Randy Travis says the latest delay in this Carroll County case has made the pain even more difficult for those who survived.
That's right, Russ and Portia. Yeah, 2 boys, 2 girls, 4 friends heading to another friend's house on a rainy Saturday night. What happened next would leave 2 of them dead. The other 2 wondering years later.
So it had been raining apparently, or it was raining, I don't know, at the time. So now he's also driving way too fast for conditions.
Whether justice in this case will ever be served. Georgia State Trooper A.J. Scott had no business.
See that truck coming down? There's a good indication. There's a hill right there, and there'll be a sign right here to tell you there's a hill. You're not going to see it, but if you slow it down, you can.
Driving 90 miles an hour that night, heading north on Highway 27 in Carroll County.
They never
The
even saw
suggested
him.
speed here, 45. Why? Well, to prevent something like this. The aftermath, chaotic.
I took the driver out. I
couldn't get to the pasture.
Okay. What happened, man?
They pulled right up, making this left turn right there.
And you didn't see him?
I saw him. I tried to. I went right when I should have went down left.
Did you have your license siren on?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. Oh, you weren't headed anywhere. Okay. All right.
The crash killed the two girls, Kylie Lindsay and her best friend, Bella Chinchilla. Neither was wearing a seatbelt. The boys in the front were critically injured. Driver Dylan Wall and his buddy Ben Finken would spend days at Grady Memorial and eventually recover, although with little memory of the accident itself. The scars 4 years later are both obvious and haunting.
Just thinking about the girls. Dreaming about them, think about them all the time.
4 years should be plenty of time for justice, for healing, to end future accidents that actually change this intersection. You can't make a left here anymore. So why can't the justice system finally bring this case to an end? The State Patrol would quickly fire Scott, the state of Georgia settling with the victims. $1 million to each of the girls' families, $500,000 to each of the boys. The money going to cover their medical bills. But they all wanted that now ex-trooper to face criminal charges. After years of delays, Scott would finally stand trial this year.
All right, this time we're going to make a motion.
But what happened next would bring peace to no one.
I was devastated. We were all devastated.
While the jury deliberated, Chief Superior Court Judge John Simpson ordered a mistrial. He was furious that the state had not shared with the defense an alternative theory. At one point, State Patrol investigators suggested Kylie could have been leaning or sitting in the front seat, and thus blocked Dylan Wall's view of the speeding state trooper.
Do you have any...
Even if she wasn't, but even if she was sitting in the front seat, she would be sitting to the right of the driver. The driver is looking left to make a left-hand turn, so that whole argument doesn't even hold water.
memory of Kylie being in the front seat?
No, but there'd be no... That's just bullcrap.
Bullcrap?
Yeah, it's bullcrap.
That's so stupid. I mean, why would she be sitting up on top of the center console when there's a whole row of seats in the back she could have been sitting in, which she was?
Why did you pull in front of someone?
I didn't. Pulled in front of a bullet. I mean...
Yes, too fast for conditions. People can't react to it. But and then they're going to try to say they were probably drinking.
I didn't see him. When I pulled, I guess. He was going over the hill going 90.
Judge Simpson would go on to file criminal contempt charges against the prosecutors, accusing them of lying to the defense. Carroll County DA Herb Cranford responded with a motion to remove Simpson as trial judge, fearing bias against prosecutors. The case is now tied up in the appellate courts. There's no new trial date. In court, prosecutors explained they never shared the alternative theory with the defense because it was quickly discounted after reviewing the facts.
Shame on them. It should have been. We should have known that someone brought a theory that my daughter may have been sitting up front, because we could have looked at that and looked into it and put a stop to it, because she wasn't.
The families filed their own motion, asking the Attorney General to appoint a new prosecutor, a request that was denied. But they all say they want a new judge, too, if it means getting the case back to a courtroom sooner.
I don't understand why we're having to fight this so hard.
Yes, this was 5 years ago. It's not going to move fast.
The facts are the facts. He was going 90 miles an hour.
Dylan must now deal with the defense strategy presented at the trial, questioning whether the four teenagers had been drinking or driving recklessly themselves. Defense attorney Mac Pilgrim ended his cross-examination of Wall by saying he could be excused or, quote, go to what party he wants to go to. Blood tests showed Dylan Wall had no alcohol in his system. No evidence he was drinking.
They literally have tried to make everyone believe that I have been. And they have facts. I want people to know that it wasn't true, because they're trying to make me look terrible, like I'm the cause of the girl's death.
After the accident, Scott won a seat on the Buchanan City Council.
Of course he did.
Retired Marine who once saw action in Fallujah is now running for mayor. He did not offer any apology or take responsibility for the accident when he testified in the trial.
We offered him a misdemeanor and to sit down and apologize, and he refused. And here we are 4 years later, and he's still denying the fact that he was going 90 miles an hour, and he caused this accident. He blames Dylan. He blames Dylan for making that turn, and he blames Dylan and thinks that Dylan ruined his life. He lost his job because those kids were out that night and made that turn.
Well, defense attorney Pilgrim tells me he's waiting for the, quote, legal squabble between judge and DA to finish up. If the case is set for trial again, he plans to file a motion for double jeopardy and get the case dismissed. He still believes the kids themselves are to blame for the accident, and 4 years later, his client, he says, is a victim as well.
Yes, of course. They always want to blame somebody.
So Dylan turned in front of a man who was going 90 miles an hour.
Turned in front of a man going 90 miles an hour.
In front of a bullet, he said.
In front of a bullet, yes. He never had time to react.
Tonight, nearly
2 weeks ago.
a decade after two teens were killed in a crash in Carroll County, the driver charged in that deadly accident is heading back to trial. At the time, Anthony Scott was a Georgia State Trooper. He was fired, and now Scott is the mayor of Buchanan in Haralson County. The families of the two teens killed, 17-year-old Kylie Lindsay and 16-year-old Bella Chinchilla, have been waiting nearly 10 years for justice in their children's deaths. 11 Alive's Cody Alcorn live for us in the newsroom with what's different this time around, Cody.
Jennifer, in 2019, the judge declared a mistrial. The defense argued prosecutors withheld evidence that could have been favorable for the former trooper. It centers around where the two teenagers you just showed were sitting in the vehicle when Anthony Scott crashed into them. Testimony a new jury will hear. September 26, 2015, Trooper Anthony Scott's dash cam was recording as he approached Highway 27 and Holly Springs Road near Bremen, a 55-mile-per-hour zone. Troopers say he was going 90 miles per hour, slowing down to 65 before crashing into a vehicle which was turning left with 4 teenagers inside.
He hit them at 65 miles an hour.
Kylie Lindsay and her friend Isabella Chinchilla were killed. A week later, Scott was fired, and in 2017, he was indicted, charged with second-degree vehicular homicide, serious injury by vehicle, speeding, and reckless driving. 2 years later, Scott went on trial in 2019. At the time, he was a Buchanan councilman. He took the stand in his own defense.
I thought they were probably going to stop in that left lane, so I went to the right, but they never did stop and kept coming. And
You were approaching a hill. How do you know they didn't stop?
I tried to go back to the left, but I couldn't.
Scott said he was on his way to get his radio from another trooper. No lights or sirens.
I noticed the car was filling up with smoke, so I thought it might be on fire. At that time, another officer was there. I told him to help me start getting them out of the car. So I got the driver out of the car and took him to the side of the road.
Jurors ended up deadlocked, split on the most serious charges of vehicular homicide and serious injury by vehicle. As they deliberated, the defense filed a motion for a mistrial. They argued prosecutors withheld information surrounding theories of where the teens killed were sitting in the vehicle and could have played a role in the crash. Information the jury was never able to hear.
May not have made a difference. Trooper may have been going so fast, it would have never made a difference, but it could have made a difference.
The judge agreed and declared a mistrial.
For a mistrial is granted.
3 weeks later, Scott won his first term as mayor, an office he still holds in Buchanan. Jury selection is expected to get underway Monday in Carroll County.
All right, Cody, thank you so much.
Thank you, Cody. 5 days ago.
Noon, the former Georgia State Trooper accused of causing a deadly wreck back in 2016 took the stand this morning testifying in his own trial. I'm Syria Sandlin.
And I'm Brooks Baptiste, Atlanta News First reporter Chelsea Bynum for joining us live outside the Carroll County Courthouse. Chelsea, what do we know?
Well, Brooks, A.J. Scott is charged with vehicular homicide and reckless driving. Prosecutors grilled him on the stand today, asking if he saw the posted speed limit signs on the night of the wreck, and he said no. A.J.
No, he didn't see him. He was going so damn fast. He didn't have time to. Also, he's a trooper. Is he not on this road enough to know what the speed limits are?
Scott is accused of driving around 90 miles per hour without any lights or sirens on the night that he collided with a Nissan Altima back in 2015. That car had 4 teenagers inside. 2 of them died, 17-year-old Kylie Lindsay and 16-year-old Isabella Chinchilla. On the stand today, Scott admitted he was not on his way to an emergency call on the night of the crash and said he did not.
So, this is where the car winds up, and they're trying to say that they found alcohol bottles and this and that. There's no evidence of that. They have no pictures of that, because trust and believe. And if they did, you could see there's no telling what's up there. How old were the containers that they said they found? Because you can tell if they are fresh or if they have been there for a while. They're trying to throw all the blame on that male driver, knowing damn well that trooper driving 90 miles an hour was completely at fault.
See those speed limit signs, but the defense has been trying to prove over the last week that the group of teenagers were drinking that night, and they say that could have contributed to the crash and that the teenagers pulled out into oncoming traffic. This morning, a paramedic also testified that the driver of the Nissan Altima threw up in the back of an ambulance while being taken to the hospital and testified that it smelled like vodka.
Smelled like vodka. So, Mr. Paramedic, how do you drink enough vodka and you throw up, like not in the toilet but on the ground, and then you sniff it to know what vodka and puke smells like? Also, like to note, his blood alcohol content was 0. Oftentimes, EMS will try to cover for these idiots. No, there was no signs of him drinking.
The jury has also seen photos of broken beer bottles and bottle caps found at the scene throughout the trial and the last week.
Where are they at?
Now, the jury has been dismissed here for the day by the judge. They will come back at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning for closing arguments and to begin deliberations. Reporting live in Carroll County, Chelsea Bine for.
Thank you, Chelsea. So, let's wrap this up. We're at 3 days ago.
Relief and rage in the verdict that 2 families have waited a decade to hear. A jury convicted a Georgia mayor and former state trooper in the crash that killed 2 teenagers. Atlanta News First anchor Joe Gorcho is in Carroll County tonight where that verdict was read. Joe?
And Blair, as the jury was reading that verdict aloud inside the courtroom, you could hear gasps and people crying as family and friends watched on. Then outside the courthouse earlier this afternoon, following that decision, parents of the teens killed shared that there are no winners here.
We've lost our daughters, and we just hung on to the hope that we would get a guilty out of this, and we did, and justice prevailed for us.
Leslie Wood's daughter, 16-year-old Isabella Chinchilla, was one of the 2 teens who did not survive that 2015 crash.
Count 2. Serious injury by vehicle. Leave the jury, find the defendant guilty.
Former Georgia State Trooper and Buchanan Mayor A.J. Scott was placed in handcuffs as the jury read out the guilty verdict. The jury found Scott guilty on 5 of 6 counts, including vehicular homicide for his role in the fatal crash.
Finally, somebody's seen what we've been seeing for almost 10 years.
Kelly Lindsay lost her daughter, 17-year-old Kylie, in that crash. During the trial, prosecutors pointed to Scott speeding 90 miles per hour down Highway 27, seconds before they say he plowed into a car full of kids. Scott confirmed during the trial that he was driving his official vehicle, he was not on call, and did not have his lights or sirens activated.
Our family maybe can start moving forward and grieving, and his family can start their grieving process for what they're about to go through.
The defense argued that poor visibility played a role, and the driver of that other car may have been drinking.
I still don't believe was responsible for that. There's still 2 young girls who lost their life, and that's a hole that their families will never fill.
And the driver of that other car that night 10 years ago, relieved by the jury's decision.
The victim blaming's over.
Yes, the victim blaming's over.
Been going on for 10 years.
All the lying that Pilgrim's done to me has really hurt.
When the parents of the 2 teen girls were asked if they had anything to say to Scott,
he took my daughter's last breath, and I'll be damned if I'm going to give him mine.
And tonight we did reach out to the city of Buchanan to see what happens next for city leadership now that Mayor Scott is in the county jail awaiting sentencing. We have yet to hear back. Live outside the Carroll County Courthouse, Joe Gorcho, Atlanta News.
Thank you, Joe. Anyway, that's where we're at with this one. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Also, again, 82% of people that watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. Click the button and we will move along. Let me know what you think about this one, and I'm out.